priorities in the campaign. So let's just talk about a few of those. One of the big ones was the idea of downtown revitalization, wanting to clean up our downtown. How's that gone so far?
Well, it's been great. We now just have been going through the budget process, and so we've allocated over $1 million to blight reduction, and that's exactly what we're going to do, is bring it downtown and look at different ways that we can revitalize downtown with that money.
Coming up on Face the State, the city of Reno has a new mayor for the first time in more than a decade. Now nearly half a year into her first term, we sit down with Schieve to hear about changes coming to the city, a budget that's in the black for the first time in years, and what her vision is for the future. And Face the State starts right after the break. Welcome to Face the State. I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for joining us. Well, it's no secret this is a big time of change for the biggest little city, with the economic recovery finally showing up in the budget and population growth coming our way fast. Reno Mayor Schieve is here now to talk about the biggest issues facing our city. Mayor Schieve, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now, really a ton of stuff happening right now, and you've been in this office now for almost half a year. How's it been so far?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, there's so many wonderful things about our city, but obviously I think it's very different from being a council person to being the mayor. But it's been amazing. I mean, it really has, and we've been incredibly busy, so far I can't complain.
What surprised you most about taking this office and what it's been like?
Oh, that's a great question. Let's see, what surprises me the most? I can't say that any one thing surprises me the most, except for I think that this is one of those positions where you have to remain so incredibly dedicated to your city, and so it's probably why I love this job so much. But I think too, the challenge for me is I want to be in 10 places at once, and so it's hard to duplicate myself. So that can be a little bit challenging when it comes to time and things like that. And plus, I'm kind of a workaholic anyway, so that can get me in a little bit of trouble, just constantly working and with family. But other than that, it's good.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, now the last time you were on this show, you were campaigning for the office of mayor, and you outlined some of your priorities in the campaign. So let's just talk about a few of those. One of the big ones was the idea of downtown revitalization, wanting to clean up our downtown. How's that gone so far?
Well, it's been great. We now just have been going through the budget process, and so we've allocated over $1 million to blight reduction, and that's exactly what we're going to do, is bring it downtown and look at different ways that we can revitalize downtown with that money. I think also you're seeing more of a grassroots effort, kind of like what we did in Midtown, as far as, we just had Sculpture Fest, things like that. Those kinds of events are really send it home, went right in the downtown core. And art is incredibly important, but also bottom line is cleaning up our downtown and revitalizing it. And there's so much truly that is going on downtown that we really have spearheaded at the city. So it's changing dramatically.
Now, when we say blight reduction, is that going to involve tearing down of some of these old buildings?
Well, it certainly can do that, but it can also, we can provide low interest loans to business owners that are having a hard time cleaning up their properties. And so those are some of the things that we can do, but really it is looking more at cleaning up and looking at graffiti, things of that nature. And yeah, if we do have to do some business building tear down, we will do that. And look, you're seeing the King's Inn, it's completely changing the downtown corridor.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see, definitely. What about some of these new businesses that have come in, these Siegel Suites properties that kind of provide flexible stay timing, so people can rent for short term or for longer term? I know that there was some concern initially about that. Is there still concern about that bringing in the wrong type of residents?
Well, you're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. There were a lot of people that were very concerned with their business model. And actually, they reached out to me and we sat down. We've had a lot of great conversation. And next week I'm getting ready to go tour, and they had sent me pictures of what they're doing. And I spoke to some of their residents, and actually pretty impressed so far. So I think it's just about being on the same page and communicating what our needs are from the city of Reno and what we want to see downtown, and make sure that they're being strong operators. And so far, actually, everything I've seen is that they are being strong operators, and that's what we're going to focus on, is making sure that a lot of those motels are, following code. And for me, that's been extremely important, and you're going to really see on this blight reduction initiative us, really focusing on those business owners and those motels and holding them accountable.
Now, this all ties into the idea of the university district kind of extending into downtown. I think a question that we get a lot is, will the placement of our homeless shelters right there on Record Street be an inhibitor to that?
Well, I think if you look at a lot of major cities, you have homeless shelters downtown. So it obviously is something that we have to really look at and make sure, because you have to provide accessibility to services and things like that. And so I think it also comes down to us really making the right decisions when we come to planning our city and where we strategically put things. But that goes back to our master plan and making sure that our downtown has everything that we need it to have. So I don't think it's rare when you have a homeless shelter downtown. That's very typical. But I think that we don't want to play into the fact that these motels that are so run down that are preying on people. And so if we're going to provide low-income housing, we need to do it in the right way. And so that's something we will continue to focus on.
Where does the university district program or idea stand now?
Well, it's really exciting. I will tell you, RTC is looking at the whole corridor and bringing that the transportation piece into it and bringing that down to Midtown and really changing the dynamic. And you're seeing some economic development up there, kind of like what you've seen on the Riverside. So you have sort of the same hub, coffee, and then you're going to have Soup 2 is going to be up there. And so, yeah, so you're going to really see this change in dynamic of economic development that is really going to be conducive to the university environment. And that's really what we want to create. We want to create this environment for the students. So that's what's happening. It's taking shape now, and I think you probably won't recognize it in the next 2 years.
But you can see it. I mean, you can see the change, especially if you go away for a little bit and come back. Reno looks like a completely different place than it did 5, 6, 8 years ago. It really is kind of amazing to see how much it's grown up.
Right, and it does, and it can change fairly quick. So, and I also think too, the momentum here. You're really starting to see with the recession sort of turning around in the economy, people are really starting to invest in businesses. And one thing that we're really talking about at the city of Reno, and we just saw it with this $10 million surplus, a lot of people think, wow, did you just find this out of nowhere? But really that's not the case. And we've been talking about it, and it's called the Tesla effect. And that's really what we're seeing, and so it's going to really change our city and the things that we can offer.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on in the show. First, I want to get back to another one of your big projects that you campaigned on, reinstating the neighborhood advisory boards. Why is that something that you were so keen on?
Well, I think it was probably one of the biggest mistakes that we had made when I was on the city council. And one of the things is that I don't think I realized how important that was, because I being the at-large council member, I don't get a NAB. So, but what I realized was when I was campaigning, first and foremost is listening to the people. That's the number one issue, the number one thing that they wanted the most. And when I campaigned on making sure that everyone had a voice at City Hall. And that's exactly what the NABs do. And the NABs also prevent from, these developers coming in and just sort of running over the neighborhoods, things like that. And so it really gives those people in those neighborhoods the voice to come to City Hall, sit on a board, and have a say in our community. And so I thought that first and foremost was one of the most critical things we needed to do, because I think it's about transparency and also community.
Has there been a lot of interest in that, a lot of takers?
Oh my goodness, you cannot believe it. It is unbelievable, the applications that we've received, the amount of applications, the amount of interest. And then we also have a program that gears towards learning about the city and what we do and how it runs. And that's been really interesting, because we were getting ready to close it down, and then after the election it sort of has this new breed of momentum, and we had 70 applicants and we had to stop the applicants at 70. So we're going to bring it back. I think we're going to do it probably twice throughout the year. But that's what I'm saying, is the momentum now and the community engagement has changed tenfold, and I think that's what you're seeing from getting people engaged with neighborhood advisory boards and being part of the process, that people really feel like our doors are open at City Hall.
Now, another change that we're seeing is implementing this whole medical marijuana change. The city just approved a new cultivation facility. Are those decisions difficult at all? What kind of consideration went into that?
Well, I think, when you're making decisions like that, it's not something that just happened yesterday. It's sort of this long planning, and we all know how government is. It takes a long time. So they've been talking about this for a long time. I think really you have to, again, taking everything into consideration when it comes to people's voices. When you're planning for facilities like this, where are we putting them? Are they in someone's backyard? Because people can have some serious concerns. So it's something that you take a lot of time and effort in deciding how those are going to work and where you plan them into your city.
Now, Reno's kind of going through a little bit of an identity change, not even a little bit, a big identity change, I think. How do you see the city 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What's the picture that you would most like to see?
I think that Reno is definitely it's changing so fast, and it's so exciting. One of the things is I think we will be one of the top places in the country for technology, and I'm not just saying regular technology, I'm talking about drone technology. And I think also gaming technology. I met with Spin Games today, and some of the exciting things they're doing, and obviously, Switch is here now, and that's exciting. And I think that we have this momentum that really that you don't see in a lot of cities, and so that's really going to take, I think, Reno to the next level and diversify, outside of gaming, which is great. But I think it's also bringing tourism back, and so there's just a lot of things when we look at Reno as a whole. I think